Chandeliers swing to the beat of its breath, and ancient whispers promise fiery death. Ghostly scales and cold endless halls that cast great shadows upon the crumbling walls. Rise up, hero, face the flame to send back this peace from whence it came. With every strike, the shadows cry, cleanse this mansion and don't turn back. The chandeliers swing to the beat of its breath, and ancient whispers promise fiery death. Ghostly scales in cold endless halls that cast great shadows upon the crumbling walls. Rise up, hero, to face the flame, to send back this peace from whence it came. With every strike, the shadows cry, cleanse this mansion and don't turn back. The chandeliers swing to the beat of its breath, and ancient whispers promise fiery death. Ghostly scales in cold endless halls that cast great shadows upon the crumbling walls. The shadows